Have you ever wondered what if some animals we call extinct are not really gone at all? What if the Amazon, with its black rivers, endless swamps, and walls of green so thick sunlight can barely pass through, is still hiding creatures from a lost world? Scientists have explored this rainforest for generations, yet even now they still find species no one knew were there. So imagine something even more shocking. What if some of the animals hiding in the Amazon are not new species at all? What if they are ancient survivors, creatures that were supposed to vanish thousands or even millions of years ago? Today, we begin a countdown of 7 extinct animals that might still be alive in the Amazon. Some once thundered across South America, some ruled the rivers, and some were so terrifying that if even one was found alive today, it would completely change what we think we know about extinction. Number 7. Toxodon. Toxodon was one of the strangest animals ever to live in prehistoric South America. It had a thick, heavy body, short, powerful legs, and a giant head that looked almost like a mix of a rhino, a hippo, and a massive rodent. It fed on plants and spent much of its life near wetlands, marshes, and riverbanks. Scientists believe Toxodon disappeared around 10,000 years ago, likely because the climate changed and humans hunted many large animals across the continent. But when you think about the Amazon, that mystery suddenly feels less impossible. The flooded forests, muddy lowlands, and swampy edges of the Amazon basin are the kind of places where a bulky animal could stay hidden far longer than most people would believe. In a place where footprints vanish in mud and water by morning, something like Toxodon could pass through silently and leave almost nothing behind. Number 6. Smilodon populator. This was not just another big cat. Smilodon populator was one of the largest saber-toothed cats ever to live, heavier than many lions alive today and built like pure muscle. Its front legs were powerful, its body was thick and strong, and its famous saber teeth looked like long curved knives. It likely hunted giant prey in wild parts of South America where forests opened into wider land. Scientists say it went extinct about 10,000 years ago when the world changed and the giant herbivores it hunted began to disappear. But the outer edges of the Amazon, where dense jungle meets open ground, could still hide a predator better than people think. From time to time, strange stories come from remote wilderness areas about giant cats seen only for a few seconds, shadows with shoulders too high and bodies too heavy to be jaguars. Most people brush those stories aside. But deep in the Amazon, not every hunter has been named. Number 5. Megatherium. Imagine a sloth the size of a small elephant, standing on its hind legs with claws long enough to pull down branches or defend itself from attack. That was Megatherium, the giant ground sloth. It once roamed across South America, feeding on leaves, fruit, and other plant life. Scientists believe it vanished around the end of the Ice Age, likely because of both climate change and human hunting. Yet this is where the Amazon makes the old story feel unfinished. In the deepest forest, where giant trees block the sky and movement is swallowed by the jungle itself, a slow animal is not always easy to find. Local stories from parts of South America still speak of huge hairy creatures moving through remote jungle regions, heavy beasts with terrible claws and strange slow steps. Maybe those stories are only folklore, or maybe something ancient learned long ago that moving slowly can be the best way to stay hidden. Number 4. Titanoboa. This is where the list begins to feel truly frightening. Titanoboa was a giant prehistoric snake that lived in ancient South America millions of years ago. It could grow longer than a bus and was thicker than any snake living today. It hunted in warm wetlands, swamps, and slow rivers, using crushing power to overpower its prey. Scientists say Titanoboa vanished long before humans ever appeared. But the Amazon still contains blackwater channels, dark marshes, and endless river systems that humans barely understand. That is why stories of giant snakes never seem to die. Fishermen, villagers, and jungle travelers sometimes describe serpents so huge they sound impossible, snakes as thick as tree trunks gliding through water or disappearing into reeds where no one can follow. Experts dismiss such stories again and again. But in a forest this vast, where whole regions remain hard to map, the idea of something ancient still sliding through the shadows is enough to make anyone stop and think. And deeper in the Amazon, the mystery only grows, because the next 3 creatures are even harder to explain. The giant terror bird once ran through South America like a nightmare with feathers, fast, tall, and armed with a hooked beak built for killing. Stupendemys was a freshwater turtle so enormous its shell could be as wide as a small car, perfectly made for giant river systems and hidden lagoons. And then there is Purussaurus, the true ruler of ancient Amazonia, a giant caiman with jaws powerful enough to crush almost anything that entered its waters. If the first 4 already make the Amazon feel like a forgotten world, the final 3 make it feel even more dangerous, even more mysterious, and even more alive with secrets no one has fully uncovered. So before we go deeper, think about what these animals have in common. Toxodon belonged to wetlands and river margins. Smilodon populator hunted in wild lands near forest edges. Megatherium could have moved through deep vegetation almost unseen. Titanoboa was built for hot swamps and silent water. And the next 3, the giant terror bird, Stupendemys, and Purussaurus, all fit the same dark pattern. They belong to a continent of ancient rivers, dense forests, and hidden places. In other words, they belong to a world that still feels very close to the Amazon we know today. And that is what makes this mystery so powerful. Maybe extinction means gone forever, or maybe in the deepest parts of the Amazon, it only means we stopped seeing them. But if you think giant snakes and giant sloths are already impossible enough, the final 3 creatures push this mystery even further. because not every lost animal would hide by moving slowly through the forest or slipping through dark water. Some would run faster than fear itself. Some would vanish beneath the surface before anyone even knew they were there. And one of them, if it still lived anywhere, would turn the Amazon into a place even more terrifying than most people already imagine. Number 3, the giant terror bird. Long before people crossed South America, giant flightless predator birds stalked its wild lands. One of the most famous was Purussaurus, often called a terror bird. It stood taller than many humans, ran on long, powerful legs, and carried a heavy hooked beak that could tear into prey with brutal force. It did not need wings to be frightening. This bird was built to chase, strike, and kill on the ground. Scientists say terror birds disappeared millions of years ago as South America changed and new predators rose around them. But ancient South America was full of habitats that shifted over time, and some parts of that world still feel strangely close to the outer edges of the Amazon today. There are isolated clearings, old corridors between forest and open land, and regions so remote that very few people ever pass through them. From time to time, stories rise from wild places about oversized birds seen running through the distance, tall shapes moving with shocking speed before vanishing into cover. Most people say those witnesses saw an ordinary bird and let fear do the rest, but fear usually comes from something. And when a creature is seen only for a second, sometimes that single second is enough to keep an old nightmare alive. Number 2, Stupendemys. This was not just a turtle, it was a freshwater giant, one of the largest turtles ever known. Its shell could stretch more than 10 feet long, turning it into something less like a modern turtle and more like a living island drifting through the water. Stupendemys lived in the ancient river systems and wetlands of northern South America millions of years ago, sharing its world with giant crocodile-like predators and other enormous reptiles. Scientists believe it vanished when those ancient water systems changed and the habitats it depended on disappeared. But when people imagine the Amazon, they often picture only trees. They forget that the forest is also a world of water, a maze of rivers, channels, lagoons, floodplains, and hidden backwaters so vast that a creature could live there for generations without being properly seen. That is what makes Stupendemys such a haunting possibility. Fishermen in remote regions sometimes tell stories of impossible shells, of massive rounded backs gliding just below the surface, of something heavy rising once and sinking again before anyone can reach it. Others talk about giant marks on muddy banks far larger than they should be. Maybe the river is playing tricks. Maybe distance and fear change what people think they saw. But if a survivor from an ancient age still drifted through the darkest waters of the Amazon, it would not need to show itself for long. One glimpse would be enough to create a story that lived for decades. Number 1, Purussaurus. If there is one extinct animal that feels as though it belongs in the Amazon more than anywhere else on Earth, it is this monster. Purussaurus was a giant caiman, one of the most terrifying predators ever to live in prehistoric South America. It could grow longer than a truck. Its skull was enormous. Its jaws were so powerful that almost anything entering the water near it would have stood little chance of escape. This was not just a large reptile. It was the ruler of ancient Amazonian wetlands, a predator built to dominate muddy banks, flooded forests, and wide, slow rivers. Scientists say Purussaurus died out millions of years ago as the ecosystems that supported such giants changed over time. And yet, if you look at the Amazon today, some of those same feelings remain. It is still a land of silent water, thick reeds, hidden inlets, black pools, and endless channels where something could wait without being noticed. Even normal caimans already look like creatures from another age. So when people from remote areas describe reptiles that seem far too large, wakes that cut across the water far wider than expected, or eyes rising from the dark where no known caiman should be, those stories hit a little differently. Experts will always say the same thing: impossible, mistaken, exaggerated. Maybe they are right, but the Amazon has a way of making the impossible feel uncomfortably close. And when you step back and look at all 7 creatures together, the mystery grows stronger, not weaker. Toxodon fits the wet lowlands and muddy river edges. Smilodon populator fits the hidden hunting grounds where forest and open land meet. Megatherium fits the deep vegetation where slow movement is harder to detect. Titanoboa fits the swamps, blackwater channels, and silent marshes. The giant terror bird fits remote clearings and forgotten wild corridors. Stupendemys fits giant rivers and hidden lagoons. And Purussaurus fits the darkest waters of all, where the jungle feels oldest and the river seems to hold memories of a different world. That is what makes the Amazon such a powerful place for this mystery. It is not just big, it is layered, ancient, and difficult to fully know. Every river bend hides another one. Every wall of green seems to guard something beyond it. Even today, scientists still discover new animals there. So the question refuses to die. If the modern world can still be surprised by what lives in the Amazon, then how sure can we really be about what no longer does? Maybe all 7 are truly gone. Maybe they exist only in fossils, museum bones, and stories people tell in villages near dark water. But maybe extinction is not always as simple as it sounds. Maybe sometimes it does not mean the end. Maybe sometimes it means that a creature moved deeper, became quieter, and let the jungle cover its tracks. And if any place on Earth could protect the last survivors of a lost age, it would be the Amazon, where the map still has shadows, the rivers still carry secrets, and the truth may still be breathing somewhere out there in the dark.